Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the Mother's Day series. Today, I want to talk with you about overwhelm. I was thinking about my own story and just who I used to be compared to who I am now. And I don't know if externally it seems like there's been a huge shift. Like when I think back to who I was before, I was still a high achiever. I was a lawyer. I was like doing all of the things. And yet, that internal version of me is so different from the internal version of who I am now. Like that it blows my mind, literally. And so when I'm talking about like my before and after, I'm not talking about, oh my gosh, I was a hot mess and my life was in shambles, right? I'm talking about I was a high achiever and life was actually pretty great on the outside and I was really good at getting things done. But internally, I was overthinking. I was overwhelmed. I was kind of having like low grade negativity, but I didn't even notice that. Like my brain was always scanning for what needs to get done, what needs fixed, what could be better. I felt a lot of pressure and tension. There was worry. And overall, that became like who I was. Okay. Now, I would have never said, oh, I'm unhappy or like life is too much, right? I just knew that I was overthinking. I knew that life felt harder. I knew that I wanted to experience more joy and slowness. And like, I just didn't know how that was possible. I thought that the negative thoughts that I had, I thought that the overwhelm that I had was coming from my circumstances. And I was wrong. Thank goodness, my friends, I was wrong. Because today, I am still a high achiever. I do still get a lot of things done, my friends. I love that part of me. But I don't have the low grade negative thoughts. I don't feel overwhelmed. It feels almost like I'm saying something that's like wrong or like unbelievable or something when I say that. Like as a mom with 3 littles, like, oh, you must be so overwhelmed. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't feel busy. Now, do I do a lot? Do I take on a lot? Yes. But I would never describe myself as busy or overwhelmed. At the end of the day, I don't have nighttime racing thoughts. I don't worry about my kids. Now, I care about them. I feel concerned if they're navigating a challenge, but I stop the worry because I know my brain especially, and probably yours if you identify as like a high achiever, we want to do good and we want to do right. And we care about like being a good mom and we care about the well-being and the future of our kids. And left on default, if you do not manage your brain, that will turn into a lot of worrying. That will turn into a lot of overwhelm. So I want you to know that yes, everything is fine externally. And also it makes complete sense why you might still feel overwhelmed, why you might still be worrying, why you might feel like, there's that never ending to-do list or so much to get done, or you're really good at doing all of the things, but not as good at letting go and living just worry-free and like embracing the present and being happy. And that is just a brain management problem. That's it. It's a skill set. I don't even call it like a problem, right? It's a problem insofar as it's your default brain running on autopilot because your brain is wired for survival. And evolutionarily, that was really, really important to scan for what's wrong, to avoid what could be painful, to seek what could be pleasurable, right? This is why, we pay attention to the pack. We pay attention now, though, in modern motherhood to our peers and what she's doing and how her life is different. And we use that as a reason to, beat ourselves up and question if we're doing the right thing. Again, just an unmanaged brain. Anytime your brain is looking for what it has to do or what needs to get done, and anytime it goes into this is too much, this is simply because your brain is doing what it is designed to do on autopilot. You have to learn how to override that part of your brain very simply, actually, right? I'm living proof of it, and so are my clients, with brain management tools. Because life is so much better. Life is so much better, my friends. When you use my time freedom method, which is a results-based planning system where you take your to-do list, get rid of it, use a calendaring system, you accommodate and account for flex time with the flex time list, okay? That gets everything from your brain onto a calendar. And then all that's left is brain management. That's it. And when you learn brain management, when you hear weekly mom group coaching, when you keep your brain sharp, it will stay out of the negativity. It will stay out of the worry. It will stay out of the overwhelm. I was just looking at one of my friends' posts and she was talking about how much overwhelm and negative thinking she's had in the last year. And I just thought, oh my goodness, like it doesn't have to be that way. It has nothing to do with what's happening in the world or what's happening in her family at all. It's just happening in your brain. Isn't that so crazy? Now, this doesn't mean what's happening in the world and what's happening in your family isn't real. Of course it's real. But the lens through which you view it, right, is going to be fueling overwhelm, low grade, maybe negativity, or kind of that sense of tension and friction, right? You can change the lens through which you see it so that you decrease worry, so that you don't have overwhelm. Honestly, if I think about the Mom on Purpose Mother's Day special happening right now, it's $497. You get lifetime access to all these frameworks, 6 months of group coaching free. $497 just for the time freedom method and the brain management tools. I would pay 10x that, because you have to think of the dividend that is going to occur to pay out in months and years to come. Like, it's not that my life isn't overwhelming. It's that I know how to manage my brain so that I don't feel overwhelmed. There's a huge difference in that. Because when you're dependent on your circumstances to be a certain way, for you to feel a certain way, you feel a little bit out of control. And it can feel like waiting till the next season, waiting for more help, waiting for something to change externally, your kid to get over this challenge. And guess what? That is so unfair to your kid, so unfair to your spouse, and also is so unfair to you, because it prolongs and procrastinates the joy, the contentment, the ease that you could be feeling right now. I promise you, my friend, no matter what is going on in your life, you do not have to feel overwhelmed. Now, that doesn't mean that you might not redecide and make some decisions to, change things in your circumstances. Have at it. But when you use these tools, it's about increasing your skill set so that you are not overwhelmed. And I promise you, it is life-changing. Because here's what doesn't work. A better routine. Okay, I love a good routine. It's not going to decrease your overwhelm. And if it does, it's going to be temporary, because overwhelm happens in your brain. And that's going to come back. So optimizing for your routines is not the solution to overwhelm. You know what else isn't the solution to overwhelm? Delegating, outsourcing. And I'm a huge fan of delegating and outsourcing. But as I was just talking about inside the membership, you can have an abundance of resources and delegate and outsource and still feel overwhelmed. How could that be, right? Because overwhelm is happening in your brain. And so the solution has to happen in your brain. It is brain management. My time freedom method plus brain management. This is why routines don't work. This is why outsourcing and delegating doesn't work. Exercise. Symptom management, my friends. I'm all for exercising and movement. Doesn't it feel good for your body and your overall health? Huge fan. However, when my clients come to me and they say, I'm still feeling overwhelmed and I'm exercising, I upped my self-care, like, what's going on? I'm like, of course you're still overwhelmed. Overwhelm happens in your brain, okay? And so your brain perceives all of the things that you're doing as too much. You have to change that perception. Exercise is just ancillary. Like it'll probably feel good in the moment. Like you'll have some movement, obviously endorphins, like again, pro exercise. It's just not the root cause solution. Because here's where the magic happens. You don't have to do any of that. You could just do my time freedom method and my brain management tools. And if you want to do less self-care and less exercising and like less delegating or like less affirmations, fewer routines, whatever, you can. Like I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, I don't really exercise. I'm obviously moving all of the time. Like I don't sit anymore really, except when I'm working. And most of the time I'm with my kids and there's so much movement there. But I don't go to the gym. And arguably, I'm not practicing like a ton of self-care. Now, it's all relative. There's a scale, right? Like I just as a person value my self-care. And I like to take care of myself. So I'm always like showering and putting on a nice outfit and doing my hair and makeup because I care about myself and I'm loving to myself. And so in that sense, yes. But I'm talking about here in terms of amount of time. So I'm not spending a great amount of time on my exercising and self-care. I don't delegate like a ton, right? Obviously, like we have cleaners who come, but that's pretty much it, right? We don't really have other childcare that comes ever. And had a mother's helper, but she took a teaching job. And so we haven't found a replacement. And so there's not a lot of delegating and outsourcing. And so, I just want you to know that when you solve overwhelm at the root cause, those things are just irrelevant. Like you can do them if you want, but you don't need them for your emotional well-being. Because here's the problem. When you become dependent on the perfect routine, on the right amount of delegating and outsourcing, on exercising and spending all this time on self-care, in order for you to not feel overwhelmed, you can feel very fragile because your internal well-being is now dependent on all of these external things. Now, again, what I'm not saying is that these external things are bad. Have at it. Exercise, optimize your routines, delegate, do that. But do that just because that's who you want to be, not because you need it to feel a certain way. Do you see the difference there? I was just talking with someone who joined the Mother's Day special. Again, you can get that over at momonpurpose.com/gift. And she was saying she joined because she was feeling overwhelmed with work-life balance and juggling, like being a working mom. And I was telling her, oh my goodness, like your life is just about to explode because not only are you going to learn how to optimize your time to live in alignment with who you want to be, which means your time and your calendar is all of a sudden going to expand. You're not going to feel like you have a never-ending to-do list. You're not going to feel like there's more you have to get done. You are going to feel like you are making conscious, deliberate choices and leading your life, and your calendar reflects that. And then on top of that, the tools that we have in there for navigating mom guilt and the mom like it's your job process, so that when you're working, you don't feel like you should be with your kids. And when you're with your kids, you don't feel like you should be working. That happens, my friends, just when you have an unmanaged brain. It's so normal, right? It's just your brain running on autopilot. But here's the problem. You work probably 5 days a week. And so if you don't do brain management on that, you will probably have like a low grade mom guilt or just like a low grade friction. A lot of times you'll hear it described as like not doing enough or not being very good at either. Like those are just thoughts. And you can't go to thoughts of gratitude to feel better with that because they don't address the root cause thought. And so you have to learn how to actually look at the thought creating the specific feeling that you are feeling. And when you do, it is life-changing because you learn how to pull apart that thought, to look at your thoughts instead of being consumed by them. And then you can let the thought go and decide, oh no, we're not thinking that anymore, brain. And it's real brain management. I promise you, I switch hats a lot, right? It's kind of messy right now, just 3 under 5. So it's not as structured as it once was. And it's not as structured as it will be in the future. I have no doubts, right? When my kids go to school. Right now, there's a lot of working in the cracks. There's a lot of working at night. There's a lot of recording on the weekends. Like I am choosing that. I love that. I honestly, I feel just so blessed to be able to do that and be home with my kids and to switch hats like that without the overwhelm. Like, I've created this company and it's like a multiple 6-figure brand, and I'm able to stay home with my kids and I'm working and I'm with them and I'm switching like a lot, and that's my choice. And I love that. Now, please do not hear me say that that is the right way and that's the way that you should do it. Absolutely not. What I'm just saying here is that it would be very, very easy if I didn't have these tools to go into, I don't know if it's like compare and despair or as much as it is like mom guilt, a little bit of all of it, right? Like, I'm not doing enough. I should be working more. I should have more childcare. I should be with my kids more. Like, right? It's like the stereotypical narrative that we hear about working moms, like never feeling like you're doing enough or feeling like you're failing at one if you're doing well at the other, or that you're just constantly feeling like you're failing at both. I do not feel that way, my friends. I do not. It is such an unhelpful narrative that will rob you of the kind of like the joy and the experience that you can really have right in front of you when you manage your brain. Now, do I have to like move things around and navigate it and figure out kind of sometimes quickly how I'm going to do things and to what extent and what needs to be a priority and make decisions quickly? Yes, but it's from like a leadership energy that I'm so embodied in and appreciative of. Like, I just love the choices that I've made for my life and my kids and my business and my work. And that could easily be a totally different story. I could be telling you, I wouldn't be telling you because I wouldn't have this podcast, but I would be telling a different story, telling you that it's just too much and it's really not fair and childcare is so expensive and I wanted to be home more and I can't. And, I am not working as much as I should and my business should be twice the size and it would be if I wasn't spending so much time with my kids, but I love that. And so I feel like I'm constantly failing at both. And it's just so much and it's just so hard. Oh my goodness, my friends. How is that story helpful? How does that feel? Terrible, right? I don't believe that. I was like, actually, when I was riffing on that, trying to like think of what would it be? What would I be thinking? Because I never think that way. But that is a practice, okay? And so I'm, 8+ years in of doing this work, and I will do it until the day that I die or that I no longer have the capacity for, because it never ends. It's just like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. It's what you do to take care of your teeth and your body. This is taking care of your mental and emotional health. And in the subtlest of ways, it makes a huge difference. A huge difference, because you don't need to do less. You don't need to outsource more. You don't need a better routine. You don't need to exercise more. What you need is brain management tools combined with my time freedom method, and overwhelm will be a thing of the past. Self-pity will be a thing of the past. Mom guilt will be at bay. It will be like 1 in 10 instead of 9 out of 10. The worry will decrease. And I think I'm just so passionate about these tools because I don't think there's anything that is as life-changing. And again, I don't know if people externally would necessarily say I'm so different, but I feel so different. And that's really who I made this for, right? Because that's who I was. Everything looked fine on the outside, but inside there was this friction, this layer of overwhelm, of worry, of negative thinking that I didn't want to continue to experience, and I didn't want to be dependent on my life changing or the world changing or my kids changing or my spouse changing in order to feel better. And I've learned the tools, I'm trained in the tools, I've created my own tools, and now I've had the privilege of coaching, thousands of moms over the last 8 years. I would love for you to be next. You can get 6 months free inside the Mom on Purpose membership when you sign up right now for the Mother's Day special over at momonpurpose.com/gift. I would love to see you inside.